the latest in college esports from the students that play.
Go behind the scenes at the schools that game.
The only place where esports are
on campus.
Hey everybody, welcome to CheckpointXP On Campus, your number one resource for collegiate esports. I am your host, Norris Howard, and as always, joined by Daniel, Double Quarter Circle Agbuya, and Jacob, the Chaos Emerald brothers. We have a very special guest right now, if you haven't noticed, on the show right now. We got CoolABC from the University of Utah, DPS player of the, I should rephrase, absolutely dominant, flabbergasting University of Utah. They've been wiping the floor with the competition in the Overwatch Collegiate Clash right now. So we want to thank him for spending time joining us on the show and welcome him as well. So CoolABC, how you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so I want to lead off by simply asking, how have you guys been so good for so long? I don't think you guys have dropped a map, really.
We haven't. I think it really comes back to us just having played together for so long. We're coming up on 2 years together as a whole unit. And so compared to some of the other teams, that's a lot of time just being collegiate esports. You're always changing players. But that just really comes into a factor when you're playing against other teams.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, especially considering that collegiate esports already is not that old in terms of how long stuff is, but to get 2-3 seasons together is absolutely amazing. So when that translates into the field of play, how does that create an advantage? Is it more so with communication, or you just kind of know where everybody is?
A little bit of both. For the communication part, I generally lead the calling of what we're supposed to do in the game. But then just having played together with the same players for so long, everybody kind of knows each other's mindsets. And so you don't need to communicate super basic stuff because everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah. And so the format of the tournament is a little bit different from what a lot of folks are used to in terms of a season-long competition, or at least a multi-week competition. There's new brackets every week. So pretty much every weekend is a new tournament. It's very similar to the Call of Duty League in that sense. When you guys first accepted the invitation to this tournament and you saw the teams that were involved, did you guys have a confidence that you could go out on top for the first few weeks, or were you looking like, hey, there's a couple teams that might pose some issues?
Yeah, there are definitely a few good teams in it, but a lot of the teams that we're actually used to playing from a lot of the East Coast teams didn't get invited, and so we were kind of shocked that we were going to be playing some of these teams. While they're still really good teams, just a lot of the better, top teams, like better than us for sure, didn't get invited.
Wow. We're talking to CoolABC of the University of Utah right now, DPS player for the University of Utah. They're in the midst of a massive run in the Overwatch Collegiate Clash right now. And, I definitely want to talk about hero bans right now, because it's a new thing coming up, or a new thing, for Overwatch, and it is affected here in the Collegiate Clash. How have you guys felt about hero bans in the Collegiate Clash and in Overwatch in general?
I don't actually think it's made that big of an impact, just with the nature of how random it's been banning things. It's definitely nice to try to mix up the meta, but I think it also it makes you need to be more flexible, but it also takes away the hard grind of like one comp, and so people don't get really good at one thing, rather they have to spread out their skills, which is hard for some schools who don't have a lot of practice time, because you're going to class, you're probably working, you have all these other things you need to be doing. But I think it's pretty good for the game, as in it's mixing things up and it's better for the viewer experience.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about that balance, about being a student esports athlete, because there's a lot of folks out there who don't necessarily equate esports with quote unquote being a student athlete, but the regimen, from what I hear, is very rigorous. So can you speak a little bit to what your sort of, back when everybody was on campus, what sort of your day in, day out looked like?
So for me, I was taking just a minor workload. I think I had 14 credit hours. So I just go to class in the morning, generally from like 10 to like 2-ish, get home, and I try to finish homework before practice at night. We generally practiced 4 or 5 times a week from like 6 to 8. And then we'd play games on the weekend, either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. We always had like 1 or 2. And then for working, I'm not working this semester, but I was working last semester. I was actually coaching Overwatch to high schoolers. And so just balancing all the schedules for practices just is really difficult to do.
See, that's really cool. That's what I'm talking about, y'all. Paying it forward. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
go to school to play esports and then you pass it down. But we got a question coming in from Daniel.
Now, CoolABC, obviously, right now with the world being in social distancing mode, how has that really affected in terms of like practice, your and health and stuff like that?
A lot of people, in our team are tired of being home all the time. We're not all just playing video games every day, unlike others, But it's just difficult because we're not able to practice in the lab together that the University of Utah has provided for us. So we're all just at home all the time. And that's really the only difference besides just staying home from school and stuff. Video games is, online you're playing. It's not affecting practices. It's not affecting games, but it's just affecting like players individually.
Yeah. And we got one more coming in from Jacob.
Okay, so you said you're the guy who calls the majority of the shots for the team, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you are the exact man I need to talk to, because I watch this tournament. So like I watch your team. I watch all of you individually, and your team fights are always so cohesive. Your ultimates are always used at the right time. You in particular, your Mei walls and your Mei snipes are so well done. So like how do you go? You kind of touched on it earlier, but like you say, you don't talk about the basic stuff, or you only talk about the important stuff. So like, put me in your head and walk me through a team fight, because I am so curious.
Okay, after every fight, basically you see what ults they have, and that's done by ult tracking because you can't actually like see it. And then you call what ults you have, and then just because I'm in charge, I call what ults we're going to use. So like I'll call like 2, 3, maybe only one ult that we're going to use this fight and how to engage on them. And so generally, because I'm playing Mei, that's going to be my role. I put the wall up, I call the engage, those ults, and that's how it just is done.
How much of it is like problem solving? Like for like Mississippi last week, and it was like the Reinhardt. If you get the Reinhardt out of the way, you're going to win the engage. So then you target him first, get him out of there. When do you make that decision? Like, okay, this is the character we need to get out of here against this team in this round.
Generally, that's just done by comps. So like the Reinhardt is always the main tank leading the charge in the front. And so if you get rid of him, the team's not going to be able to push. So it's just generally like who's in front that you're just going to target. But if we mix it up sometimes depending on the comp we're playing, and I'll just generally make that call and then we all go for that one.
Okay, and then one more hyper-specific question. When you were playing UNLV this last week, I noticed in a lot of your team fights, you never used your Blizzard until like you'd hold on to it through multiple team fights. And was that just because UNLV was just wasting all their ults and it was easy to win those team fights? Or like was there something more specific to that?
Blizzard is a really hard ult to get off with D.Va being in the game. And then UNLV also plays heavy dive comps, which is super mobile players who can get out of it really easily. So in order to use it effectively, you have to freeze one of the tanks and then ult the ground to keep permafrozen. And so generally I have to freeze the D.Va to get my ult any value. And so it's generally better to just not use it and not worry about it until you can like have the perfect opportunity.
So full disclosure there, CoolABC, me and Jacob actually are UNLV students, so we
Oh man. Well, CoolABC, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Checkpoint XP on campus. I know you guys got a bye week coming up because you've literally been winning too much. But we look forward to seeing you guys returning to Collegiate Clash and making a run for the whole thing. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to have more about the Overwatch Collegiate Clash coming up here on Checkpoint XP on campus. Stick around.
The seasons are changing, so to celebrate the swing into spring, we would like to ask gamers who their favorite green-themed video game character is and why. Come with me.
My favorite green-themed video game character is Yoshi from the Mario World, and he's just really cute and he's fun to play, and I like the Yoshi World games.
So my favorite green-themed video game character of all video games would probably be Link from the Zelda franchise, specifically in Twilight Princess. Growing up and playing the Zelda franchise, specifically Twilight, it had a really gritty, really raw, really dark theme to it, and I fell in love with that aspect of playing a role-playing game such as Zelda.
So my favorite green character is Yoshi from Mario Kart Double Dash. I used to play that game a lot when I was little, and my favorite map in the video game is Yoshi Island. So it's just all Yoshi, he's my favorite.
So my favorite green character is the little pea shooter from Plants vs. Zombies. So not only are these little guys adorable, but they're deadly. They can cleanly knock the heads off zombies. They protect your lawn from the zombies that want to eat your brains. They come in a variety, and they're pretty cool, man. shout outs.
Lily from Animal Crossing.
And why?
Because she's really cute and she helps me manage my pocket camp, and she's adorable.
So my favorite green themed character is Ivern from League of Legends, and despite his peculiar personality and lore, he plays a very supportive role in the game, and it's probably one of my most favorite things to do in the game is help and protect others.
So it would be Piccolo from Dragon Ball. That would be my favorite green themed character. I play Dragon Ball Fighters, love that game. He's not the strongest fighter in the game, but he's got some really cool moves. I like having him on my team, my trio. I think he's like also one of my favorite characters because he's got one of the best voice actors in English dub anime that I've ever heard. He also voices Vegeta, love him, and All Might, so many cool characters he's done. So yeah, that's my favorite green themed character.
Well, that's it for me this week. Thanks to the students at UNLV for sharing your favorite green-themed video game characters. On behalf of CheckpointXP On Campus, stay green and have a great spring.
Welcome back to Checkpoint XP On Campus, your #1 resource for collegiate esports. Your host, Norris Howard, here. We had CoolABC from the University of Utah leading off our show, talking a little bit about the Overwatch Collegiate Clash. But now, we're going to throw it back to our Galaxy brain, Jacob Brothers, and talk a little bit more about the tournament as a whole and where everybody stands in terms of the points. So, Jacob, take it away.
Hello, my fellow gamers. So, starting from the top, this is week 2 of the tourney. That has been electric, I will say, well, for Utah at least. So, since every team is getting points, and they're not really listing that anywhere, I did it all myself. And then I'm also going to give you some storylines, because we like some storylines. So Utah, 16 points. No one's surprised. They won 2 weeks in a row. Mississippi, 10. UNLV, 8. Texas A&M, 6. CU Boulder also has 6. And then George Mason has 4. George Mason didn't play this week, and they were replaced by Oklahoma, which we'll get to. Boise State has 4. Wichita has 4. And Oklahoma has 2. So we can't really say much about Oklahoma. It was their first week, and they didn't do great. But also, first week, because they played Utah. So obviously, no one's going to beat Utah. So I think Utah beating them doesn't really say much about Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. But 2 teams I have on the hot seat are Boise State and Wichita State. You're 2 weeks in, and you don't win any of your games. If you're over there, your sky might be falling a little bit. Yeah. The panic button is probably on the table.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
For you, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, absolutely. I definitely want to highlight them. And on top of that, you got 3 teams in Utah, Mississippi State, and UNLV that seem to be a cut above everybody else. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be space for at least a couple teams to be able to make a move into sort of those middling spots. But it doesn't seem like too many teams outside of maybe University of Colorado Boulder and maybe a couple of other teams that have really solidified themselves as sort of mid-table, middle-of-the-road teams. It seems like there's the top, and then everybody else is kind of not doing that great.
Yeah, like next week, since Utah's not playing because they're winning so much, it will most likely be UNLV and Mississippi in the finals. And because that's UNLV's only real rival besides Utah. Because they did beat Mississippi in week 2, but it was just because they kept on just kind of pulling it out of their hat. Yeah. So they were just kind of squeaking by, but now with Doomfist going to be the main guy and all the counters being banned, and UNLV has a phenomenal Doomfist player, they're going to roll. They're going to roll for sure. But I want to talk about Utah, because Utah played UNLV, and I think we saw a lot of really important stuff in that final.
Mm-hmm. What did we see, Jacob? What did we see, Jacob?
We saw Utah play the video game. Games 1 and 2 were not that bad. I will give it that. But it was also you could tell how quickly Utah communicates, which we talked about in the interview with CoolABC. But like Dunmere, I believe is how you pronounce UNLV's tank, he died first every fight. And that was obviously intentional. It's like, how about we get rid of the tank and then we will have no problem. And then in the second round of that map, UNLV's like, how about we just run a Mercy instead of a Lucio? And that would pan out the way you expect. Mm-hmm. And then in game 2, it's just Cool Blart, I assume is how you pronounce that name, and CoolABC, they're cracked. They're crazy. They're nuts. They just land all of their shots, because Cool Blart was the McCree for the most part. And so you're running a pharmacy against a McCree who hits
all the
shots.
Yeah, it's not a great look, and that's Koblart, actually.
Oh, Koblart. Okay.
Yeah, Koblart. But you're absolutely right. And Koblart, as I've said many times, has been one of the top players of this tournament in terms of DPS players, really in terms of any player. Because what he's been able to pull off on McCree, a player or a character that is very good at putting down damage, very good at range, but you don't get a lot of utility out of his ult. It just kind of gets people out of the way so you can start a team fight. He's been finding value on his Deadeyes, which does not make sense to me in a game where you got double shields and you got all these things to stop specifically something like McCree's ultimate. He's getting value. CoolABC is putting up the some of the best walls I've seen.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Pretty much.
Aggressively, offensive, defensive. His walls, they're never wrong. But about your ultimates, that was the story of rounds 1, 2, and 3 of this whole final, is because UNLV landed almost none of their ults consistently. It was, I believe, in game 3, where McCree is up top on a flank, pops his ult, and then jumps off the bridge and then shoots from the ground.
Yep.
And I don't know in what universe you would ever do that. And your shatters are missing, your blizzards are hardly finding value, your self-destructs are hardly finding value. Like when they were playing Winston, and he would like jump, and he's like, oh, I should probably pop my ultimate, and then let me get no value and die. And as we saw with Utah, and as we talked to about CoolABC, they were so specific with their ults. Like when you have a shot caller that says, hey, this blizzard wins fights, and we do not need it in this fight, so I will hold on to it for next fight, you're already just going to have this constant advantage, and you're always on this ultimate curve, and that's why Utah won their ultimate.
Yeah, and so, you know, you already spoke a little bit about UNLV, and I appreciate you guys not being biased and all that good stuff. But next week, I think personally UNLV has a very strong chance to actually win next week because Utah is not playing and because the meta will serve their favor. But with that said, outside of Wichita and Boise, who do you think this week is sort of a must win or at least a must perform?
Oh, the hot seat. I love the hot seat. So you said outside of who? Outside of Wichita?
Outside of Wichita and Boise.
Okay.
Because, yeah, they haven't looked good at all against anyone.
Okay, Oklahoma definitely has something to prove, but it was also just their first week. I am looking at Texas A&M because you can see that they win games. So, and Texas schools have a lot of pride. So, you know, you got to feed that pride. And so this is probably a must-win for them because if they just win maybe one round and then lose again, they'll be in the running to make like the playoffs, and I believe it's May. But you're probably not going to beat the teams you need to beat.
Jacob, I want to ask you this. Now that you've seen Utah dominate for the last 2 weeks, what can teams do just to take a map from them? What adjustments can they make?
University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Here is how you beat Utah. Land your ultimates. That's probably a really good start because a lot of these teams, they have the skill. They probably don't have the communication, but they have the skill. And communication goes into flanks, it goes into positioning, it goes into using your ults. And so it's really communication, and you have to be ready for the May walls. The May walls get them almost all their engagements. They either cut everyone else off or they just seal one person with them. And you have to just always assume that CoolABC has his wall ready. If you play like you are always aware of the wall, you can probably position yourself better. And if you're expecting the McCree, which you should expect, don't run far and mercy.
Yeah.
That's also probably a really good idea. You want to counter the heroes that they are playing as.
Yeah. No,
so
it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. But make sure you guys stay tuned for more with the Collegiate Clash. It's Fridays now. We said it was Saturday last week, but it actually popped on Friday last week. So we're gonna say Fridays. Make sure you're watching UMG Gaming. That's the channel on Twitch.
Genuinely watch it. It's very fun.
Genuinely watch it. It is very entertaining. The casting has been great both weeks. So make sure you guys tune in for this wonderful, wonderful tournament that's going on right now. But Las Vegas has done something else. They've also allowed esports betting for a big esports tournament. This is the first time this has ever happened in the history of Evernum. So make sure you guys stick around for that, because we're going to bring in Kevin Kelly for that conversation. So stay with us for more Checkpoint XP on campus.
I fight until it hurts.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Checkpoint XP on campus. Your host Norris Howard here. Don't forget, you can always slide over to our website, checkpointxp.com. We got all sorts of stories in both collegiate esports and in just pro esports in general, as well as gaming. All new sort of game releases, big gaming news. We got all that over there, as well as a really cool shop. If you want to check out some really cool gamer merch, make sure you check that out. Go on over to checkpointxp.com. But we're gonna bring in one of our good friends, one of our producers, behind the scenes guys. You also see him sometimes on the show. Kevin Kelly is going to be joining us for a conversation about gambling and esports. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what happened last week, the city of Las Vegas, I should say, has allowed esports betting. Specifically, they're going to be allowing betting on the ESL Pro League. That's a Call of Duty Pro League, pro season that they've just established, sort of emulating many other big esports in terms of creating a league, making things a little bit easier to follow, which is something that's been very difficult for Counter-Strike in particular. So with this setup, this is where all the top teams should be. But the conversation here is about the betting, because esports betting, or esports book, if you will, has not existed until now. So we wanted to bring in these guys and have a conversation about it, because they're in Las Vegas, so they know a little bit about this stuff. So I want to throw it right to Kevin. What do you think this does, and is this something that you could see yourself betting on? By the way, these guys are over 21.
I always get brought in for the degenerate stuff. Always the gambling and the Call of Duty and I'm getting typecast on the show. But I think it's so strange, because like people look at Las Vegas as like the mecca of gambling, right? But then they come here and then they're like, wait, like we're so restrictive here. Like the way people do it, you can't come here and then pour all of your stuff from DraftKings or whatever app that you fancy and kind of have any sense of continuity. You kind of have to switch everything over, especially if you want to do it like mobile. If you want to bet mobily, it's all through these, like it's through the William Hill app, it's through the Station Casinos app, and they're all very bad, not good,
garbage.
And so I would hope that like this is just a step towards kind of just like no longer like Las Vegas no longer being like a gatekeeper, because like the rest of these countries don't have like the gambling infrastructure, yes, but they do have like really streamlined ways of being able to place bets through all of these apps. So I know now like this is going to be a first step, but again, like Las Vegas joining the rest of the country in something that like is more widely accepted in other places, that's a good step for me. I can see myself, especially if we're going to start doing like things like the COD League, that's definitely something I can see definitely like putting some parlays down.
I want to pose a question to you guys though, because casinos in particular are having a tough time bringing in millennials, bringing in Gen Z of age, and having sort of things that appeal to them. Is a esports book, in your opinion, something that will bring them to the casinos? Because as it stands right now, they're going to have to physically go to the casinos outside of a few select apps, as you were talking about. Is this something that you see moves the needle for that generation? Because it's not a gambling generation, really.
I mean, hand up, I've already bet on Counter-Strike as of like 2 days ago. So I've already done it. Like, I have already bet on Counter-Strike as soon as it was a thing. And so I think the answer to that is yes. Because like since we do live in Vegas, it's all structured so weird. Because for people who don't know how it works, it's because like there's apps like DraftKings, and that'll work for like 40 of the states. And it's like Nevada, no, New Jersey, no, no here, because casinos can't lose that money. So I do think that it's going to bring in a lot more people, although I do think it's going to be on those apps primarily, because the way it works in Vegas is that you have to physically walk into the casino to make that account. Like, it's so painful because Vegas is run by a bunch of old people and they just want to make their money. So they don't care that the app is really bad and doesn't really work. So people will go into the casino to sign up. But after that, there's no point because people are already watching on Twitch anyways. Like, why leave your home to go watch it? Like, for sports, you always have the argument of like, I don't have hockey. I don't have cable, so I can't watch the Golden Knights games. So I go somewhere to watch the Golden Knights games. For things like esports, it's just all on Twitch. Yeah. So it's not going to bring people into the casino. But as far as betting goes, it will create a lot of revenue.
Well, and I just want to give some context here. The only things that you can bet on for the ESL Pro League are head-to-head matches, the winner of each match, and the overall season winner. So you're not going to see bets on stuff
point
like
spreads and stuff like that.
Spreads,
well,
exactly.
To that,
which should be making the book easier. You shouldn't have to rely so much on experts, which is why I think they've gone in this direction.
Yeah, to that point, though, they also did say that more bets are allowed to be created, but they have to be applied for and they have to be approved. So at some point, hopefully, we'll get to the point of like, how many wall bangs in this match? Like, I just want like those, same thing, like how many field goals are going to be kicked? That kind of a thing. Yeah, like I want more of those, and we will get there eventually.
Yeah, just the infrastructure of the landscape for esports betting has to develop before we get to that point where the degeneracy starts to take over.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that it took a pandemic to get to this point, but I do think that the dominoes will start to fall very quickly. I think because although the casinos will be like, oh, the gambling capital of the world just allowed this. Dope, we'll do it. And then they'll be like, well, people like Counter-Strike, people like Call of Duty, Overwatch, like Dota, League, blah, 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 LCS, and then it'll just
cascade and just avalanche.
And so I one last question about this topic. By you guys being in Las Vegas, obviously you're much more attached to the casinos and gambling and stuff like that. With this, is this a way that you think esports will begin to more permeate into the mainstream? Because we know that there is a correlation between why traditional sports is so big. A part of that is sports betting. So is this a way you think that it permeates into the mainstream?
100%.
That is such a lock. Every like adults over the age of a crisp like 45 only care about sports they can bet on. Like period. And once all their bets go wrong, once there's different off seasons, because I can guarantee you put a video, like you put Counter-Strike up and you say, hey, you can bet on this, they will look. 100%. And it's like, hey, this isn't hockey. I understand this. Boom, they'll bet on it. Like they won't even think twice.
There are no horse racing fans. There are just people who bet on horse racing.
People bet on golfing, okay? People are going to bet on golf. They can bet on video games.
That is a very interesting point because there is no reason to ever watch a horse race ever, unless you have money on it. Which even then is. You shouldn't watch horse racing. You
can't know anything about the horses,
Just don't watch horse racing. But with that said, guys, we're going to have to stop the conversation there. I want to thank Kevin for joining this conversation. And again, I think this is an unprecedented sort of move. And again, I don't think we see this if traditional sports are going on currently because of COVID-19. But I do think that it is a unique opportunity for esports. As much as I am not a gambler myself, I definitely see this being a part of a wave that allows a lot of people who are not into esports to maybe dip their toes into it, because people want to make money, man. Let's just keep it for real. People want to make money. Everybody's looking for a come up. So we are going to have more coming up from Checkpoint XP on campus, where Jacob is going to be leading us through his gamer cave and showing us what he's been doing while under self-isolation. So stick
Hopefully
around
you
for
turn the
that.
flash on for that one, man.
Yeah, stick around for that. We got more coming up on Checkpoint XP on campus.
So I did the Octane cosplay. That was a thing. I'm probably going to leave that in the past. But if Psyonix wants to supply me with a high quality Octane cosplay, I'm not going to say no. Cardboard Octane. I just want that in the game. If Psyonix can get that Cardboard Octane in the game, that would just make my life.
Yo, what up, gamers, and welcome to my crib. Welcome to where I survived the quarantine. So it's gonna be a little video showing you about where I live. So let's get into it. Starting from the top, here is your boy's kitchen. I live in a humble little condo, so you know, I'll walk you through what matters. So here's what matters. Boom, kitchen table. There is a bowl on the table with a lot of balls in it. Do not ask me why. We have a lot of pictures. We have a kitchen over there. All that is clean. So just know that I am not a, you know, I take care of my dishes. You got a mirror. We will get to her very quickly. Normal counter. Over here is where I spend most of my games. It's just a small little flat screen TV. This is usually where I play my Switch. Around the corner is where my Switch dock is. It's a mess of cords, so I'm not going to show you. That's also where my Sega Genesis Mini is. It's usually where I keep my controllers, on that little countertop over here. Over here is some nice art. Fun fact, my mother painted it herself because she wanted to go to a store and she could not find the art she wanted. So she took styrofoam, cut it into 3 pieces, put some, you know, some black lines in it, and it panned out really nicely. Now, the most important part of my house is my partner in crime right here. Hey, this is Ruby. She is my daughter. I love her very much. She is a white, gray, and tan child. Let's not show off your bad side, sweetheart. But she is the little baby. She just likes hanging out. Oh, hello. Oh, what a good shot. Do you know that you're famous now? But yeah, God bless her. She hangs out with me, sleeps with me almost every night. It is a normal bathroom. It is blue, well, normal except for the netting on the roof, because this bathroom is beach themed. What's up? So over here we got a beach proof paint puzzle of the ocean with a lot of cute fish. Fish along the curtain. We have pictures of the beach. We have seashells. We have more fish, more seashells. Again, the net hanging from the ceiling the majority of my life. So a very beach themed bathroom. So starting out, we got the Golden Knights flag. We got a super dope Spider-Man poster that my grandparents put a hole in like the first week it was up. Here is the rest of my room. We will get to all of the art, don't worry. We have my regular everyday shoes. We have my bad to the bone shoes. Those are some Air Jordans, both of which are not really being worn right now because I don't really go outside. Yay! We got Elder Scrolls Greymore art from when Checkpoint talked to the Elder Scrolls team. We got All Might, signed by All Might himself. And we have Izuku Midoriya, Deku some call him. And this art is so sick. I got that from the Level Up Expo that Checkpoint XP was also at. Not really organized. This is where I keep a lot of my old consoles and all of my hats. Detroit. Let me grab that while I'm thinking about it. So, we have a lot of Funko Pops over here. Just to run through them briefly. Golden Knights, William Carlson, right? Yeah. Mega Man, Spider-Man, homemade costume, Shadow, Eggman, Master Chief, R2-D2, Black Panther, Winston, Torbjorn, Cisco, X-Force, Wolverine. Over here's, you can't really see him, Deadpool, Diva, Titan, B2 from Titanfall 2, Dig Dug, and Beast from Altered Beast. Would you look at that? Over here, this number 50 Brothers. That's from my 8th grade basketball. So you know, I just never took it down. We have a lot of decorations. So a dagger on the wall, Renaissance Fair, middle school. Also another Golden Knights flag. We have one Flash comic, another Flash art, another Flash comic. We got, can't really see because of the glare. We got Pokemon. Got that from my 5th grade Scholastic Book Fair. It will not go away until I die. Over here, we have a lot of decoration. We have a fake plastic flintlock from another Renaissance fair. We got Grant Gustin the Flash. So we have a pretty nice model of the Flash from the TV show. Another really nice model of the Flash from, it's from the same style as my favorite artist. We have All Might, whose hand is broken off because glue is not that great. More Renaissance Fair, Golden Knights mascot. Over here, we have the girl who becomes Batwoman. Oh, no, Barbara Gordon. And then we have Catman, Lego Catman. Very important. Over here, this is where I keep my headset when I'm not using it, right next to a Sonic Mania Collector's Edition statue. So it's Sonic standing on a Sega Genesis, of course, as we all know. We have more Sonic Mania stuff, and we have some Flash cards. It's a deck of playing cards for the Flash. And over here, I have a Vector that I never set up. I have my other controllers, my custom-made Xbox One controller. So some good old genuine orange and purple. Over here, we have my favorite artist, author of all time, Kurt Vonnegut. Entire collection, Kingdom Hearts orchestra track, because I went to the orchestra live, and some classic science fiction. Now, most importantly, we have the battle station, as some people would call it. First off, so rude of me, let me, just move all of these Sonic X DVDs, some would call it art. And behind it is what I've been doing during my quarantine primarily, Animal Crossing. I have played probably over 20 hours, pretty confidently at this point. We have my wallpaper for my computer is, of course, Todoroki and Bakugo dancing at the disco. We got orange keyboard, orange mouse, Razor, my 3 most important Funko Pop over here, the Flash, Lucio, and Sonic the Hedgehog. And next to Sonic is Ho-Oh, which you might think, why do you have Ho-Oh here? This is the Ho-Oh from the Heart Gold Soul Silver edition. So I have my Pokewalker somewhere as well. And this is where I spend most of my time. All right, everyone, that is my crib. Thank you so much for hanging out, and thank you for watching yet another episode of Checkpoint XP on campus. We'll see you next week.